Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network. kingofpodcasts.com.
And while some other company packed up their big show and shipped it off to Saudi Arabia to take that blood money, we come here with the real deal right here in Texas.
Woo!
Your boy Rick Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
I love that. Cesar Duran and MLW Fury Road over the weekend. A great show, by the way, if you didn't have a chance to catch it on YouTube. And on top of what he said there on the program was that, remember that at Major League Wrestling, we don't play soft, we don't play safe, we choose violence. MLW is becoming easily a wrestling program that just doesn't give a shit. We just get good wrestling, we get good storylines. It is the epitome of what I want in my wrestling. I just wish we had, it would be nice if the MLW had some more access to weekly programming on a better channel than BN Sports. Nothing against BN Sports, but, I don't look out of my way to go find that channel. And, but either which way, listen, the pay-per-views on YouTube, I am grateful that they put those on. I haven't seen Fusion in a long time. I don't know if that show still airs, but the thing is, the pay-per-views are fantastic. I love it. And I'm happy to go ahead and say that I love to go and catch those every chance I get when they're doing them. So it's good stuff. So I don't have to go and say much about MLW, is the fact that they're just good stuff. It's always that thing too, I must say. So in the days of the Monday Night Wars, okay, we always had, of course, the two main companies who were going up against each other, the two largest. Now, it's a different feel this time around because of the fact that WWE is absolutely the instigator. They are the bully here in this particular war. AEW doesn't want to have anything to do with it. They just want to kind of stay out of it. And Tony Khan, going into the 6th anniversary of Dynamite tonight, he's just going on with his own thing. And people can go ahead and complain if they don't like some of the storylines, the booking. Oh, why didn't Kyle Fletcher and Kenny Omega go at words, and now we're going to get Kenny Omega and Andrade returning tonight on Dynamite? Okay. They don't like that. They don't like with that Hangman Page and Samoa Joe. I like it. Listen, I'm not worried about that their continuity or the rhyme or reason is going to be absolutely perfect. But for me, I enjoy their content. AEW, I enjoy what they're doing. And I'm not even worried so much about WWE right now, which, people were saying, hey, listen, you can enjoy the Io Sky, Asuka, Rhea Ripley triangle right there that's going on. Sure. But my focus more than anything is what's going on with what WWE is doing, which is even more diabolical than the Monday Night War aspect they're trying to go and do right now to take out their opponent. And they're not doing a good job of it. But we'll get to that in a moment. But when we had WWE and WCW, ECW was our alternative. And it was a wonderful alternative. And of course, before TNA. But MLW right now, to me, is the standout. NWA, they got themselves on Roku, and, they're trying to get themselves up and going. But, Billy is doing yeoman's work over there. I mean, the talent that he has to work off of, he's really working off of a younger roster in a lot of cases, with some stars that are there that are veterans that are definitely capable. But, they don't move the needle for me as much as I would like them to. And, it's partly the fact that when we had that, COVID really did make a difference with everybody, because NWA was on an upswing. And it's been tough for them to go and get themselves back on that sure footing once again after COVID, because it was very tough for them to go and get back into it. Plus, on top of the fact that the shows that they've done, they haven't had some of the standout things that really made me enjoy the product, but unfortunately, because they had stars that moved off to somewhere else. When Camille left, that was a big draw for them, and I really enjoyed what they're doing over there. And it's been tough. There's been some changes there, and some of the stars that have replaced some of the other stars they've had there, it's been tough. And some of them have been kind of around for a long time, with Chris Adonis or Tom Latimer and, some of the others they've had there for a long time. But they've been trying to work their way up the ladder. But I still want to keep an eye on them. I just catch more of their clips, and I catch more of their X feed more than anything else. But the other thing too is that it's also kind of like, for me, if I can't catch them doing anything live too much, and that their content is taped so far in advance, it is a bit tough to kind of get into, because they're having to repurpose Crockett Cup, or they're having to repurpose, the anniversary show, things like that. With MLW, the one thing I'm getting off of them is that we're getting live shows. Like, when we get a chance to watch them, the shows are live, which just adds to the aspect of it. And Dombrowski does a great job on commentary. If it was Austin Aries, who was on the Opera Cup working this week in action, and then you had Tom Lawler on commentary, I love all that stuff. Everything with Mads Krul Kruger, I like the character, the whole thing set up, the new skyscrapers with Dijak and Bishop Dyer, I love all that. The CMLL stars that we don't get to see over in AEW, but we're getting to see them here in those respects. I love Selena De La Renta. Cesar Duran and my old days of Lucha Underground are fantastic. So all that right there, what Court Bauer's doing over there, it's still fun. Matt Riddle, Satoshi Kojima, there's just a familiarity. And I enjoy what they're doing. And it's also nice that, they've had a number of stars that came out of that whole run. MJF, Jacob Fatu, Josh Alexander, Myron Reed, the Young Goat. I would give those names as some of the names that came out from there. Well, not Josh Alexander, excuse me, Alexander Hammerstone, that's what I meant. But still, some of those stars they've had around that meant something. It's great stuff. By the way, Richard Holiday, glad to see he's going to be in NWA. Congrats to him. So I love to come see that. And that's the thing, is that I've actually cut myself on some of the alternative wrestling programs because, besides AEW doing their thing, listen, they're in their own lane. I don't think they're trying to play a part into anything that WWE is trying to do right now. Because what WWE is doing right now is just something really out there and wild. And I'm just trying to figure myself out with what they're doing here. And there were so many things I caught up on my X feed over the last week that I thought I'd go ahead and bring up here and make the point. MVP spoke with Inside the Ring and TMZ Sports and has his comments right now on the landscape of the WWE and AEW. He says that the WWE right now is putting too much emphasis on profit and pricing out grassroots fans. Quote, I'm weighing my words here because I want to make sure I say this the right way. I think there's been an emphasis on profit with this, the increasing corporatization of one side without regard for the fans who help make the company what it is. Listen, I could have gone to the show tonight for Dynamite at Hard Rock Live. Tickets were at some of the areas were $36, starting at $36. Reasonable. Very reasonable. And it looks like the seats were good because it's all concert seating in there. It looked great in there, by the way, tonight, too. They had a good crowd in there. I would have absolutely gone to it, but Wednesday night to Miami or Hollywood, and that's necessarily, it's a bit much. I wasn't necessarily going for that, and just things have been hard for me to get down that way and really make the time for it. So I thought about it, but absolutely more affordable than the times I looked at anything that WWE is doing, which was 3 times more on the cheap seats, just to give you that. MVP goes on to say that I think at AEW, we're still very concerned about that grassroots fandom. At the end of the day, it's all business. Professional wrestling is a business. You can have your artistry and your artistic take, but you can't forget it's a wrestling business. If no one's buying tickets, if no one's tuning into your shows, if no one's buying your pay-per-views, which even that model is going out the door, then there's no place for you to do what you want to do. So you got to remember the business of aspect of things. However, I question maximizing profit to the point that you price out those grassroots fans who've been there since day one. And they are. I've seen more pricing now for events coming up, and it's mind-blowing. Let me go back here and see what I saw here. Pricing came up today that I just saw. And once again, for the last match of John Cena in his retirement tour. All right, Saturday night's main event. And this particular show, they are labeling as John Cena's last match. It will be held at the Monumental Sports and Entertainment Capital One Arena in DC, December 13th. The tickets for that show right now, it's between your standard seats that are $250 to $3,000. If you are on the camera side, ring side, first row, $11,500 for that ticket. One night, one ticket. Because remember, when I talked about WrestleMania tickets, those were 2-day passes. Second row, on the ramp, it's $9,500 a ticket. In the fifth row, on the ramp side, $6,500 a ticket. That's wild. $11,000 for first row to be a part of this. And then again, the bucket seats, $250 for the cheap seats. That is ridiculous. But that's what they're doing right now. So that's the comments from AEW and WWE coming out of MVP. Let's talk about Santino Marella, who has been now one of the lead matchmakers there in TNA right now. Which, by the way, what TNA has become now in this new partnership with NXT in the last year, since Scott D'Amore was ceremonially dropped just like that. Obviously, if he was going to be a part of this, he probably would have pushed back a lot to what was going on here. And for those that want to go ahead and compare what Tony Khan did with TNA when AEW was there, you have to take COVID into consideration. Because TNA was only going to do Skyway Studios in Nashville and run their shows. And to have AEW be there for NWA for TNA, it was just trying to do a conglomeration just to keep those promotions together for the good of the talent, for the good of wrestling. So I think it was a different time. And yeah, Kenny Omega, sure, he had the belt. And just like any promotion that's the bigger promotion working with a smaller promotion, yeah, of course, Kenny Omega becoming their world champion, not losing it to a TNA original per se, but losing it to Christian Cage, who would then lose the belt to Josh Alexander, right? And then you saw that, okay, fine. I understand that part. They didn't necessarily set somebody up to go and become that top TNA star that was going to go ahead and take the belt off of Kenny Omega. They're never playing that. Kenny Omega was not going to drop the belt to somebody else in TNA per se. Got it. So yes, you can go ahead and make that blame there. But for Tony Khan, he did not try to take advantage of this company like they are doing right now. Carlos Silva and this Anthem Entertainment Sports Group, they are allowing NXT, the WWE arm right now, to just run roughshod now. To the point they have been convinced now to replicate the 2001 Invasion angle. Which, by the way, the Invasion angle is such a bad idea right now. And I'm not even talking about the fact that there were Israelis, that are WWE fans that were upset because of the fact that they were going to call the TNA and NXT event on October 7th Invasion. Remember this, folks. The reason they changed the name from Invasion to Showdown, that they already did it, it wasn't because they used the name itself. It's the fact that nobody could have put together the idea, oh, you know what? We're running this on October 7th. And when people think of October 7th in the culture, people that watch news, might be a little bit political. Yeah, they might forget there was a war that started that time. And that's the problem. And that sucks. But yeah, unforced error on WWE's part. Listen, I mean, it happens, okay? But somebody should have had the forethought to say, you know what? We shouldn't be calling this invasion. Santino Marella says that TNA will be the number 2 promotion once they have a TV deal. Quote, we're knocking on the door. You better look out because once we get that TV deal, we're number 2, man. I know Tony Khan has lots of money, but I get it, but the fans speak. The fans dictate who's number 1, number 2, number 3, not your bank account. Of course, WWE is number 1. They're so far ahead that we'll never catch it in my lifetime. Number 2 is attainable. Number 2 is something we could really do. If we can accomplish that, that's humongous. He tells that to Lucha Libre Online. Santino. TNA was a number 2 company early 2000s. Roughly from 2002 up until, let's say, 2015. No, actually 2012. Because the Ring of Honor took that over. Because once TNA allowed another disruptor in Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan to go ahead and get in the ears of Panda Energy and Dixie Carter to try to take things to another level with TNA. In that same respect, number 2 going up against WWE. No. And they did it. And it failed. Going to move that show to Monday night was an ultimate failure. And TNA, only until the last couple of years, finally have recovered from that major mistake. That was an epic error to the point that TNA was on its last limbs, almost out of business. At least Ring of Honor has Sinclair to kind of prop that company up. And then to the credit, Tony Khan decided to buy Ring of Honor outright for the intellectual property, and what he's using it with now is his own basically developmental property with some of the other talent that's in there within. That is, originally of the Ring of Honor realm. But the thing is that, I mean, you want to say that another TV deal comes back in. With what channel? Okay, you go to A&E, you think CW is going to pick you up? As far as I know, listen, we're less than 2 weeks from Bound for Glory. I haven't heard about a TV deal yet. So we got to wait on that anyway. And there's no rush on that either. It would be nice to be announcing it on Bound for Glory weekend, but I don't think it's going to happen now at this point. I haven't heard anything else. The thing is right now with wrestling, if it could have been done sooner, that's one thing. Because right now, WWE right now has been in a pretty good lane with TKO Group Holdings banking on TV deals. They've been on it for the last year, okay? Since October 1st last year. Remember, SmackDown to USA Network. Then we get Netflix with Raw, CW with NXT, and now the ESPN deal with the pay-per-views off of Peacock. I mean, that is a grand slam of TV deals that this company has done. I will never take that away from TKO Group Holdings. They have done a fantastic job of making money, every single dollar they can, from the Saudis, from the fans, and from the television partners. Oh, they've done bank, major bank. But the expectations now for WWE, most importantly, I don't know who it was that brought the idea along that thought, okay, we need to delve ourselves into these other organizations. Listen, when Triple H was given the NIL deal, when he was told, hey, NXT needs to have their own satellite offices, let's start building up and bringing talent in and recruiting it from within. The NIL program, let's start getting athletes from within. And Triple H obviously bucked at the idea when he still had Vince McMahon still leading the charge. He didn't want to do it. So what is this thing we're doing now? You are pillaging promotions. You're not trying to develop talent there for the purpose of bringing it to the main roster. By the way, all these different things they're doing right now with NXT, with TNA, with AAA, it's not going to lead anytime soon to somebody making the main roster. Can we make that clear? Who is going to be making the main roster out of anybody that's in this whole conglomeration right now? What I'm calling NXT-N-A. NXT is NXT, the N is TNA, and the A is AAA. This conglomeration, it's nothing. Like I said, it's linear. No one is moving up, and no one's going anywhere but sideways. To the point that I don't even know what we're doing with TNA right now. We're going to Bound for Glory. There's so much NXT-fication in here. And before we get to Bound for Glory, we have Invasion. And this Invasion angle, I guess, I thought I was going to start at Bound for Glory. No, we're going to go right into it beforehand. Is this even going to help out TNA for the Bound for Glory show? Because I don't see anything talking about it. This Invasion storyline right now is sucking the air out of Bound for Glory. I honestly don't know what TNA is doing right now. So last week, they ran Victory Road, one of their B-level pay-per-views, a TNA Plus pay-per-view. And actually, there were some things that happened on the show. So, a lot of matches on the card. Mike Santana, who's going to be going for the World Heavyweight title, had just a kind of a setup match with Ridge Holland, NXT star, to go and put him in that. Matt Cardona and the former Diener, now the hometown man, over the Nemesis. Then you have Mustafa Ali and Moose that faced each other. These matches meant nothing. Okay. You had for the Knockouts World title match, you had Kaylani Jordan, who won a battle royal. Along with Lei Ying Lee, these two would then determine who would be facing off for the Knockouts World title later in the night. So Saya Ali, former NXT star, and Kaylani Jordan, an NXT star now. So you're absolutely going to get somebody else completely outside of TNA. I mean, you could say, sure, TNA came in, but, Xia Li here is now being considered with Kaylani Jordan for the Knockouts World title. With Mustafa Ali and Moose, it was a setup for the hardcore war between Ali's Order 4 and Moose's The System for Bound for Glory. That's all that was set up for. Could have been a TV match. Joe Henry out of the world title picture altogether, taking on Eric Young. And Kaylani Jordan becoming the Knockouts World Champion. Indy Hartwell, special guest referee. Yeah, so I mean, just like that. Another NXT star, TNA champion. Along with Trick Williams, who's now also set up for that as well. And Leon Slater is still the TNA X Division champion, beating Myron Reed in a match there. Meanwhile, Steve Macklin was also a former champion. Easy International title, kind of just like the throwaway right there with Frankie Kazarian. But that's in that. So that's what they had set up for. And then, of course, then we get to Bound for Glory. But again, now we have, at Bound for Glory, Kaylani Jordan coming as champion. And before we get to that, we have to have this showdown. No longer Invasion, Showdown. The setup. So Elegance Brand and Inspiration going up for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Leon Slater will take on Javon Evans, the X Division title. Keep that in mind. And Javon Evans has been running all over the place in matches. Going up against Oba Femi, right? For the... Oh, no, it was Trick Williams, wasn't it? Yeah, Trick Williams, right. NXT title, I think it was. I forget. I don't watch NXT. I just keep it on the clips. That's pretty much it. If I had to go and watch Ava every week on Tuesday, I don't think I could do it. I can't stomach her. I can't. What a horrible character. Awful. The Call Your Shot Gauntlet will be also going on at Bound for Glory. That hardcore war. Kaylani Jordan and Indy Hartwell now for the Knockouts World title. These are the knockouts we have now? No, nothing against Kaylani Jordan. Absolutely capable here. But it's the fact that it's an NXT star now holding this belt once again. The one match that will still feel like TNA is the Hardys and the Dudleys. Team 3D for the World Tag Team titles in the tables match. That'll feel fine. And Trick Williams and Mike Santana. TNA World Heavyweight title. We could definitely go into Bound for Glory coming up. And we could see 3 titles become held by NXT stars. I'm going to go ahead and give predictions right now. Javon Evans is going to be X Division champion. Bank on that right now. I don't care if we saw Leon Slater and Javon Evans together kind of like as a tag team. It doesn't matter. Javon Evans is winning that X Division title. Inspiration will win the Knockouts Tag Team titles. This is because the booking of NXT will be done by the booking of NXT. It'll be under what they want to look at as their own agenda. They will see that instead. System in Order 4, that's just a full TNA match just to get all those folks involved. It doesn't really make a difference. I will say the system wins. Kaylani Jordan just won the belt. And just like that, we're going to get, a very short title reign for Kaylani Jordan so far. And she's not losing that belt. So Kaylani Jordan's winning and retaining the Knockouts title. So get her real showcase there at Bound for Glory. I'll take the Hardys over Team 3D. And Trick Williams, I'm pretty positive that he will retain the TNA World Heavyweight title. They're not giving Mike Santana that belt. They're not. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. So TNA is now under siege by NXT. Under Siege used to be a pay-per-view name for TNA. Now it is absolutely what's identifying what NXT has done to this product. Completely. And the focus of the Showdown, because the fact that NXT is a live show versus TNA being a tape show, TNA is going to just go on with their own thing, and the major storylines are really happening on NXT. That's what it comes down to. And what you're looking at are the level of things that they have now with what they're doing with it. Okay, let's talk about the fact of what they're doing right now overall. Back to Santino Marella and his point thinking that TNA will become the number 2 company in wrestling in North America. Dave Meltzer had his comments on that.
Is that the possible number 2 company in the world? The TV deal needs to be in the several hundreds of millions for them to even come close.
Look, he's representing the company, and he may be brainwashed too. Because you got to remember that there's a lot of people out there who, no matter what, in their minds, AEW is this giant failure, and they don't know how to run a company, and their booking is horrible and all that. I mean, there's people who they live and die with that thing. You can't change their minds. And Santino probably thinks, well, our booking is okay. And all we need is the exposure, and it's
right. It's a lot of things going on here. The other thing too, that WWE has instituted that happened at Victory Road. They have mobilize the Twitch streamers, the live streamers out there, to start covering TNA like they would an NXT or WWE show. They're trying to encourage it. And they did it specifically with Victory Road. And then you look at how NXT does their things for the pop. Ricky Saints, he's already been North American champion in 6 months being at this company, coming from AEW. The Stroke Daddy thing's been going on since 2018? That was NWA Power Days, okay? And everybody is now so enamored with Ricky Saints here. I'm sorry, Ricky Starks I've seen for years now. He's been good for a long time. So now he's getting titles here in NXT. But they won't give him the main roster. But I guess if he's getting, adulation like this when he wins, here's a conglomeration that was put online of all the Twitch streamers that got super excited when they saw Ricky Saints become NXT champion.
Wait, what?
1, 2,
oh my God!
3, Ricky Saints is the new NXT champion.
We got a new NXT champion.
Right, that. So these are the things that, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H, whoever else is down there in NXT thinking, oh, this is a good idea. Trying to take some of the stuff that WWE does right now with their fandom to support TNA. And obviously they'll try to do the same thing with AAA. Triple H is a different story. We'll talk about that with Dominic Mysterio in a moment, but that's another story altogether. And this is all meant to go and do things so that they can attack AEW. And as we say, TNA and the whole idea, let's go ahead and talk about him, right? Everybody wants to go ahead and attack AEW. And, Tony Khan has talked about it. He talked about going ringside. Quote, when it comes to counter programming from WWE against them, quote, we've been having a really great year. We've been able to stick and move and make it work really well for us. There's always going to be tough competition in this sport. It's very tough competition, the kind of competition that makes you work really hard 52 weeks a year. 52 weeks a year, yeah. And there's been more that Tony Khan has also said since then. The plan was, he says that he can still see where Dynamite's going to hopefully still be around 10 years from now and still doing great stuff and hopefully growing and getting bigger and better. There's been a lot of comments about Ricky Saints, him winning the NXT Heavyweight Championship this week at No Mercy. Let's talk about that part. By the way, also for Fort Lauderdale War Memorial Auditorium, I haven't had a chance to see what the venue looks like. Didn't even try to go and see if there was any tickets to go get overall. Someone mentions the fact that Ricky Starks is 35 years old. He's in developmental. Yeah, that's one thing that's being brought up. But yeah, they never, and I don't see Ricky Saints ever being a star they're going to bring up to the main roster. Oba Femi's been talking about because of the fact that he dropped the belt. And somebody writes here, the thought of Oba Femi on the main roster sounds great until you remember who the booker is. Good point. Another person writing here how Triple H would book Oba Femi if he locked in. Quote, make him a commentator with Michael Cole. Brock Lesnar attacks Cole. Oba stands up and gets humbled, which leads to Pat McAfee versus Brock. Jey Uso taps out Oba. Tag team rolling with Grayson Waller with no payoff. And El Femi Americano will be his final thing. Funny, but it just feels like that. Comments about Jade Cargill. Somebody put out here saying, Jade Cargill, who was the longest reigning TBS champion in history. And she has gone 853 days without a single title in WWE. And by the way, she signed a multi-year contract to stay. Okay, well, I guess she's happy where she is right now. But yeah, no championships right there except for that tag team run, and that's pretty much it. Also, some comments out there from a story from NoDQ.com that put up an op-ed, and I'm just going to read the caption here, that Ricky Saints versus Oba Femi was NXT's ultimate FU to AEW. They took someone AEW treated as enhancement talent and made him a champion. The match was excellent. Classic David versus Goliath. And then someone writes, so Ricky Starks got wins over CM Punk, Chris Jericho, FTR to win the tag team titles. And that was with Big Bill, right? Yeah. Won the Owen Memorial Tournament in 2023, the World Title Eliminator in 2022, and the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal in 2022. This notion that he was a jobber or wasn't given opportunities is such a load of BS. Okay. Another person writes, enhancement talent. He worked with and against CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Sting, and MJF in high-profile matches. He really lost a match. If that's enhancement talent, what in the world is he winning a developmental title when you're knocking on the door of 36 years old? More commentary on Ricky Saints. That he won the NXT and North American title in a span of 6 months. Comments from Booker T about Jade Cargill because of the match she had with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. And that with Booker T says that she's been pretty much fresh off her AEW run. She probably didn't learn a whole lot because she was just put on a wing and she never really got a chance to wrestle anybody. She had 64 matches in AEW and so far 68 in WWE. So keep that in mind. Just running through my X feed of all these things that I saw that I wanted to go bring up with the program. Monday Night Raw last week, getting its lowest number in viewership on Netflix ever since the show started over there. Interesting. And then there's a thing that happened when it came to what happened on NXT to lead up to the Showdown. This invasion angle with NXT and TNA. And we should go ahead and point out some of the things they did to set this up. And you answer this question for me. How does this benefit TNA? Because they're just getting used as a pawn this whole time. And like I said, at Bound for Glory, I see TNA talent not holding the X Division, Knockouts, or World titles at the end of Bound for Glory. Mark my words. Here's Ricky Saints, JC Jane, and Ava in the ring together.
Wow, JC! For once, you actually took the words right out of my mouth. You're right. You guys do have more important things to worry about. Because I've decided that both of you are the team captains for NXT.
And this is, by the way, all they're doing with this whole setup is to do a couple of Survivor Series matches. Pretty much. And this is supposed to go and benefit TNA. I'm trying to find the logic behind this.
Which means that you both have the very important task of deciding who is going to be on your team. And for this, I need you both to put your pride and your differences aside because...
Anyways, there's more to this. They had to go ahead and correct the part of calling it an invasion and calling it a showdown. Here's Santino Marella.
Let me just say this. I don't trust Tricky Williams for 1 second, so he's not going to be my cap. How can you trust a guy with the name Tricky? So, I'd like to introduce my captain right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Santana!
NXT-N-A.
I mean, it's the NXT crowd is much more into Mike Santana, so why don't you just sign him over?
But there is someone from NXT who I do trust to be a captain of Team TNA. That's right, the newly crowned TNA Knockouts World Champion, ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Jordan.
Makes no sense. Oh, that they can trust an NXT star who's now their promotion's Knockouts champion. Doesn't make any sense. And by the way, Kalani Jordan, I just want to make this point. Oh, you get the Showdown comment. Let me get this in real quick.
Working together wonderfully for months now. This is more of an NXT and TNA showcase. No. A showdown. A showdown between NXT and TNA. I'll see you guys later at the TNA NXT Summit.
Hold on. Let me get this straight, Santino. You have Trick Williams as your TNA champion, but not as your team captain. But you have Kalani Jordan, who's been in NXT for years, who only won that TNA Knockouts Championship, 10 seconds ago, as your other team captain. Please tell me how that makes any sense. This is ridiculous.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things that are just ridiculous across the board with all this here anyway. So Ricky Saints, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Miles Bourne. That's to the NXT side. Or the TNA side, it'll be Mike Santana, Moose, Frankie Kazarian, and Leon Slater. On the women's side, NXT will have JC Jane, Gita Parker, Sol Ruka, Little Vice. Kalani Jordan, the inspiration of Mara Sade, is the women's side. This is supposed to help out here. And you're telling me the setups that they have right now for these matches, you're telling me that NXT's not going to win both of those matches at Showdown? Most likely they are. I don't know. TNA is just saying, hey, look, we're just glad, we're just happy that we get to have our logo out there. We get to hear cross the line. We get to have our stars in there get beaten by your stars, I guess. Just thanks for letting us be involved, guys. I can hear Carlos Silva. That's what I feel like this is going on right here. It's ridiculous. But they're in this bed. They're lying in it. They have no choice now. And this is overshadowing everything that's going on right now when it comes to TNA Bound for Glory. No one's talking about it. By the way, JC Jane can't even mention Victory Road on the broadcast. We can't do that either. What kind of partnership is this? Now here's Ricky Saints, your NXT champion, cutting a decent probe. Like I said, look at the material he has to work with.
And I'm about to set our team straight. It's going to be the new NXT champion, Ricky Saints. It's going to be you, Trick Williams, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Let's talk about it. It's going to be Young OG, Javon Evans. And my man coming off a big win tonight, it's going to be you, Miles Bourne. Get in here.
they got all these stars in here that have been around for a long time. Trick Williams, Javon Evans. And you know what? I don't know if they're ever going to get to that main roster. They are in a ceiling. By the way, one thing that somebody pointed out, somebody actually tried to say about, well, there's something about the N and TNA because all the stars they have down in TNA right now as champions are all people of color. I don't have any dismissal about that at all. I could care less. They're all credible champions. I don't have any issue about it. My issue is the fact that they're all, except for Leon Slater, all NXT stars. And Leon Slater was from that developmental system beforehand anyway, right? But the thing is that those are all stars that WWE is never going to promote to the main roster. I don't see it. If it does, it's going to be a long time from now. But it's obvious that WWE, even if they're just going to do something right now with no storylines, as they've been doing, right? They want to go whose line it is anyway. Let me put it to you like this. You're going to see a lot of these NXT stars stay in NXT or stay in TNA or stay in AAA. Because the way that WWE is now operating and their whose line is it anyway improvisational promos they have to go and do out there, which some are only up there because of nepotism or friendship. Jada McDonough, Laura Vicaria, those are examples. And match of stars they know that can actually be in the ring. Okay. That's what they're going to deal with. And in that, without any characters or any kind of notoriety that's coming to these stars here, as long as they're in the ceiling underneath the main roster in NXT, TNA, or AAA, they're never going to get noticed. Listen, Grayson Waller came back down to NXT to go work on the show at Full Sail. He's been doing nothing. Pairing up with what? New Day. He's been doing nothing right now. Austin Theory's not even a blip on the radar. Carmelo Hayes has been non-existent as well. Non-factor. I mean, Tiffany Stratton is one example of somebody that's actually made it to the mold. Braun Breaker also broke through the mold. But there's not much more than that. And because the way that WWE is set up right now, none of these stars here in this conglomeration of NXT-N-A will ever be able to successfully elevate to that main roster. And I don't think that the company wants to elevate them. I truly believe that. And I hate it for them. Because right now, the company sorely needs some new faces up there. They have no one for Cody. There's no difference with Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins as champions right now. They're without anything to do. Roman Reigns comes out here as an afterthought. And now he's going to get brought up in a storyline with the Usos going up against Division. This is what we're doing with Roman Reigns? Of course, he's working a movie, so I understand that. And John Cena, his last match, by the way, on the Saturday Night's Main Event graphic, he's wearing a belt. Why? And it says the last real champion one last time. So is he getting the belt back before then? I want to make that make sense. Let me take a little bit of time to let Brian Alvarez channel what is my frustration with this NXT invasion angle.
Brother, this NXT show is off the rails. This show was so stupid last night. I thought that the invasion, like the famous WCW, WWF invasion, was just about the stupidest invasion I've ever seen. Ava said, I met with Santino Marella, and we spoke for hours, she said.
Hours.
They spoke for hours to figure out what to do about this.
Hours.
And they came up with the idea of this, what was it then called the Invasion pay-per-view, Would anybody like to guess who Santino chose as the captain of his women's TNA team? He chose an NXT woman holding a TNA title. It's dumb enough. Like, they did this during the original invasion, the WWF, WCW invasion. It's dumb enough that someone from the other side is on the other team. That's stupid enough. But literally, they chose someone from the other side with one of the belts, which is why the other side was angry in the first place. Kalani Jordan, NXT wrestler Kalani Jordan, who is the TNA Knockouts champion, is the captain of Team TNA. Now, if that isn't dumb enough, the Knockouts champion, who is actually an NXT wrestler, is the captain of the TNA team, but the NXT wrestler, who is the TNA men's champion, is actually on the NXT team as the TNA champion. I'm done.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack on that because of the fact that for Trick Williams, for Kalani Jordan, it doesn't make a difference. You're not gaining anything by having those TNA titles. And it's not because of your skill or ability. I will just say it like this. If Kalani Jordan and Trick Williams worked with any other promotion, if you could put them in MLW or NWA or AEW, I know that I would probably get something better out of them if they were out of this mold. If they were not in WWE and they were just stars in TNA before all this partnership came in and took over this company, TNA. There's no doubt that they both are absolutely at or near a main event level on any other promotion right now. The fact that Trick Williams is still in TNA now, or NXT, and he has not moved up to the main roster is an abomination. And honestly, Kalani Jordan, she could have also moved up by now as well. I haven't even talked about AAA, and the now they have, 3 Americanos, Bravo, Rayo, and El Grande Americano, right? Doing that with Dominic Mysterio as the Mega Champion. But the thing is, Dominic Mysterio is a different story because we know that no matter what goes on in AAA, it's fine because he is third generation, excuse me. And he will also always be taken care of in WWE. I really believe that. Dominic Mysterio will be one of those people who will stay up on that main roster, whatever he does with that Mega Championship, which I guess he's going to hold on for a long time. Especially with WWE holding on to that company. Dominic Mysterio is going to be destined to be holding on to that belt for a long time. I can see him multi-year championship. He could be their damn Bruno Sammartino for all I know. And I wouldn't be surprised. But Dominic has a bright future ahead in WWE, and he does. He should. He's one of those pillars that they absolutely have right now. Because WWE does have pillars. Braun Breaker's one of them. I don't know if Tiffany Stratton's there, but I think Dominic Mysterio is definitely there. And there's just not much else. Let me give you another rant that came from Brian Alvarez to talk about what's going on right now with wrestling. And I thought he also just channeled a lot of things that are on my mind as well.
All
right.
Let me tell you something. What year is it?
2025.
Okay.
Is that the quiz?
No, well, it's one of them. What year did Lou Thez win his first world title?
Not 2025.
1937.
Okay.
Lou
Yes,
Thez won his first world title at 21. You watch college football, Vinny?
Sometimes.
Okay, how many 40-year-olds are like stars in college football?
Very few.
Okay, they're all what, 21?
Roughly.
They're all in college? Yeah. And last time I checked, like, college football does great numbers.
Better than ever, in fact.
I don't see the problem with young people playing college football. The only place where you're too young to get pushed at 21 is professional wrestling in 2025 in like WWE.
Can you imagine if Brian actually cared?
I didn't care until I saw that match, and then I started caring again.
But you just
guys,
said you don't
I'm
care.
50. Do you guys understand? I'm 50 years old. I can't tolerate watching another promotion filled with people that can't see talent.
And he was talking about the fact that Javon Evans and taking the open challenge on SmackDown against Sami Zayn. I mean, we already know that Javon Evans is not going to win on the main roster, but that little blip on the main roster, that's supposed to be like a little gift for Javon Evans. And to go and work at, TNA is also another gift. But yeah, they're going to probably reward him with that X Division title at the Bound for Glory next week. Most likely. But like I said, the things that are being done in this NXT-TNA conglomeration, confounding because there's just things here. It doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, NXT-TNA can do whatever they want, and WWE can continue to do these things that they're doing right now with their product, misaligning and misusing talent, butchering partnerships, or promotions they have bought outright, overcharging their fans, and trying to do things to thwart the growth or stunt the growth or pull back the growth of AEW. WWE doesn't have to worry about that, okay? It is enough for the fact that AEW struggles on its own, but that WWE has nothing to do with it. WWE has been a non-factor in all they've been trying to do to go ahead and thwart AEW to take it off the map. It's just not happening. At least there is wrestling out there that I can enjoy, that I don't have to really care too much about all this kind of crap going on. Like I got Slaughterhouse this weekend with Donovan Dijak in action. That'll be good. I'll enjoy that. Some of the good matches going on. Mads Kruger, MLW World Heavyweight Championship in a Chamber of Horrors match. That's how it'll be conducted. 3 title matches on the line. Shoko Nakajima defending the MLW Women's World Featherweight title. A 3-way match set for the MLW National Openweight Championship and a lot more. And also 3 quarterfinal matches for the Opera Cup. Matt Riddle versus Alexander Hammerstone. And Donovan Dijak being in action. And so much more. So that is Slaughterhouse coming up. Mr. Thomas, C.W. Anderson, Matthew Justice, and 2 other names are going to be in the Chamber of Horrors match. Rugido, Blue Panther, Atlantis for the 3-way match for the National Openweight title. Opera Cup, it's Mystico versus Ultimo Guerrero. Satoshi Kojima versus Bishop Dyer. Paul Lennon and Austin Aries. And a 5-way match with Diego Hill, Magnus, Okamura, Ikaro Kwan, Stigma. And also a segment for Shotzi Blackheart, who's been now with the company. The Graveyard Shift. So that's all good stuff. So we'll keep an eye on all this going on here, leading up until Bound for Glory next week, which, I'm wondering how this is all going to turn out. And I feel bad for TNA. It's just gone a different direction. And like I said, that TV deal hasn't come yet. So to take all this here and hope that something will come of it after all the things that WWE's been able to do with TNA's playground. How's that playground going to look once they get a TV deal? I'm just wondering. Anyway, come back next week for another Wrestling Israel podcast because wrestling needs us.